Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Our dear friend Doug Martin sent this one in, and I like it. Telling someone they have to be politically correct is a direct violation of their First Amendment rights. People's feelings are not protected under the Constitution. Remember that there, little bunkie. Good morning, here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America on this Columbus Day 2019. Good morning, call in with the Pledge of Allegiance. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, along with our major sponsor, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you right now with a big fall tire sale. Be sure and stop in and see them today. Some of our wonderful advertisers include Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen, Doug. Thank you. Appreciate all your help. And we're going to probably have him call back a little bit later on. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Don't forget they've got all the heaters over there for all the construction work, and they've got electric and propane heaters. And don't forget, too, they've got all the air compressors to blow out those sprinkler lines. You got a lot of things to take care of before it gets really cold and the ground freezes. You better get a hold of them today for all your tools and equipment needs. K&R Rental at 678-3122. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this Columbus Day Monday, and it's going to be nice. We are expecting sunny skies. Winds out of the west at about 10 miles an hour, expecting a high of 65. Gusts as high as 21 miles an hour for today. Tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of around 34. Tomorrow, again, a beautiful day. Sunny skies, high close to 70. Partly cloudy for tomorrow night. A little bit of a breeze, expecting a low of 39. By Wednesday, going to be beautiful. Sunny skies, high of 73 with an overnight low of 41. Thursday, the winds are going to be picking up. We do have a slight chance of showers in the afternoon. Partly sunny skies and cooling down to 57 by Friday. Mostly sunny, mid-50s. And for the weekend, we are looking at the chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the upper 40s to low 50s. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7:30.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Gina. And brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Hello, Roger and the crew right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. For all the best of tools and equipment, rental for long and short term, get a hold of K&R Rental. And the number to call, 678-3122. Also, want to give a great big shout out and thank you to some wonderful people that have been on our program, I think, since, holy smokes, at least 15 years. And that's thanking our wonderful friends at Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Besides doing all the dry cleaning and doing such a wonderful job on refurbishing all your wrinkly and your crinklies and everything, they also will do the washing for you. That's right. Wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mama used to do. All you need to do is stop in at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They are right now waiting to serve you. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Zeb.
Hello, my friend.
I learned something the other day that probably most of us didn't know, and is that you cannot impeach a sitting congressperson. Were you aware of that?
Yeah. Instead of impeaching someone that is as low and despicable as Adam Schiff, honestly, I'm not making this up and I'm not trying to be facetious. I think it's better to let him stay in office, ridicule him, prove him to be the liar and the charlatan that he is, and just absolutely have people despise him in front of the cameras and in front of the public eye. I just think this man is so detestable. I just want him to stay there and linger and have everybody say nasty, dirty things about him, to which he deserves.
Well, you know, this so-called whistleblower says, I don't want to testify. And so Adam tells him, oh, that's okay. Just send me a letter. That's not okay.
Not only that, though, Keith, but did you hear the interview with Adam Schiff that he said, I believe it happened late Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, and he said, well, he was asked about the whistleblower, and he says, well, we really don't need the whistleblower's testimony because we have the phone transcript. My goodness, Keith, everybody's got the phone transcript. I've got the phone transcript. I went through it 30 times. As a matter of fact, I was one of the very first people to get the phone transcript of anywhere in the nation. And thanks to my lovely bride, we talked about it on the program. And there's nothing in there incriminating. There's nothing in there to show any quid pro quo. I'm absolutely incensed against Adam Schiff, and thank you very much for making me mad right off the bat.
Hey, I did a good job, didn't I?
Oh, that is the most repulsive little man I've...
You didn't even get a chance to disagree. Doggone.
No, you're not going to get a disagreement out of me with Adam Schiff. He is, like I said a moment ago, he's one of the most repulsive little people that tries to make a big thing out of what he does and who he is. I find him totally dislikable.
You know, this should be his theme. Let's make it up as we go along.
There's another theme I'd add to that, but we're on the radio. I'll tell you personally. Have a good day, my friend. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Thank you much. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Good morning. They open the doors at 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. And, you know, Gina's weather was kind of look out, because there's a back door to that weather. Going to be nice for the next couple of days, and then bang. And then bang, all of a sudden we're going to get hit. So make sure your furnace is working right and you've got all the furnace filters and everything. They have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Also want to remind you, too, about Denny's Restaurant. Ooh, I tell you what, I love Denny's Restaurant. They are so good. Now, keep in mind, somebody called me over the weekend. Who was that? I can't remember. Anyway, they wondered when the next lunch bunch was or is, and it's going to be on the 24th. Write that down, October 24th. It's our big Halloween costume party at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and they've got another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, all the desserts, fantastic people serving you at both locations. Well, what more can you ask for? Just stop in and see the great folks at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Absolutely. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I started the program off, and I'm not going to back up on this. You can call and say, well, you're hurting the feelings of people that are indigenous people, and Columbus Day should be canceled, and we should call it Indigenous Peoples Day. No. On this program, I will not be following political correct baloney. Again, insert another word. Kids, adults, and us old fogies, it's Columbus Day. And I'm just going to say this to all those PCers out in the audience, of which there are more here than I thought there were. It's way too easy. Listen carefully to my words. It's way too easy to judge and blame people and the past with a 2020 vision from today. Think about that. We are all flawed. We all have made many mistakes that maybe we wouldn't like that closet door open to see the skeleton inside. And I know the crazy left doesn't understand that. But I salute Christopher Columbus for having the extreme courage to set sail to the unknown. It is Columbus Day. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. The menu at the Burley Senior Center on South Overland is Italian pot roast, mixed veggies, green salad. It's cook's choice for dessert, but I promise it'll be good.
But you don't know what it is, right?
No.
Okay, well...
Some good, though. Only $5.
There you go, Joe. And I'll tell you on this...
Order a takeout meal if you call before 12.
Absolutely. On Columbus Day, the food's going to be great. And in honor of Columbus Day, it sounds like they're going to have that Italian cuisine. Thank you, Joe. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. Hey, don't forget Ark Animal Hospital. Hello, Dr. Bill and the whole staff over there at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Oh, my goodness. Don't hesitate making sure that your animals are getting the best and all the vaccinations they need. Don't hesitate if there's any disease or sickness or cuts, abrasions. Ark Animal Hospital is there to serve you and them. Absolutely, Dr. Bill and the crew, great folks. And again, it's Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street in Heyburn, 678-1177, and it's so true. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Once again, I want to remind everybody about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Don't forget, they've all teamed up with the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox, featuring a remote control so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, really. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. So keep comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You know, Columbus certainly wasn't the first one to explore America. There was all kinds of civilizations had been over here. There was huge copper deposits in northern Michigan, and of course the water flow at that time after the Ice Age was much higher. So they navigated up the Mississippi River, and actually copper has a signature, and that copper from Michigan is all over Egypt and different countries. The Phoenicians were here, the Egyptians were here, the Knights Templar, the Vikings. Columbus, though, he brought Christianity. That's why they objected to Columbus so much, because the attack on Christianity is intensifying, and anything they can do to denigrate eliminate Christianity from our culture. That's what they're after, Zeb.
Well, you know that, and I know that, but, I am not going to be changing any names or events on my calendar. I have treated this day as Columbus Day. I absolutely sit back in awe, and I mean this when I say this. I sit back in awe as to the courage, the absolute raw courage of anybody getting on a sailing ship at that time and just going out into the unknown when most people at that time were saying the world's flat and you're going to fall over the edge. I absolutely applaud that, and I'm not about to change the name to Indigenous Peoples Days for anyone.
Well, absolutely not. But see, this is the whole thing. It's just they're doing everything they can to change our history.
Yep.
The revisionist history's been going on. I mean, our founding fathers, they're trying to do anything they can to denigrate them, and the fact they brought about the greatest form of government that you discussed and mentioned many times that's ever been devised under our constitutional republic. And, of course, they still use the word democracy. Democracy is the way we vote, majority rule, but a republic, we elect officials to represent us, hopefully represent us at least. But
yeah, let me interrupt you right there, Adrian. Adrian, let me interrupt you right there. Let me interrupt you right there for a minute. You just hit a nerve with me, and you're spot on right. I was listening to some of these NRB, not real bright, Democrats, and they were spouting off about, he's destroying our democracy, he's destroying this and everything. Well, first of all, I have not yet. Maybe you have, I haven't. If you have, correct me. I haven't heard the Beto O'Rourke's or the Kamala Harris's or the Bidens or the Elizabeth Warrens not once use the term republic. Don't they understand what we have?
No, I think in a lot of it's just plain ignorance, but I think on the other hand, Madison in Federalist Papers number 10 said democracy as a form of government leads to mobocracy and the people lose their freedom. I think some of them certainly know that, but this is what's being taught in school. They teach their kids their democracy.
Yeah.
Well, if you get right down to it, the word democracy is not in the U.S. Constitution. It's not even in the Pledge of Allegiance, of course. We pledge allegiance to the Republic, and it's not in any of the state constitutions either. The word democracy is not in there, but Republic is used over and over.
Yep.
So, I mean, this started about the early 1900s when the League for Industrial Democracy came on. And then Wilson, we got into World War I to make the world safe for democracy.
Yeah.
And it's been that's been being promoted for the last century plus.
I agree with you.
But this is the revisionist history. And a comment about Adam Schiff. Yeah, just let him go. Just let him keep spouting off, telling his lies. Enough of the truth will get out about what he's doing. Unfortunately, the mainstream media, as you well know, Zeb, is just going to cover for him. They're covering for Biden and Hunter Biden, and they can do no wrong.
Yeah.
They get a pass on all this stuff, and Hillary and Bill and Obama is the same way.
I agree with you, Adrian, and I thank you. I got to run and do a commercial, but I'll tell you, by leaving Adam Schiff in there and not worrying about trying to replace him, he turns into the Democrats' poster boy for stupidity. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, he is absolutely dead. He's a demagogue for sure.
Got to run.
This is a great constitutional republic.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
A great Columbus Day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. I won't keep you on hold more than 30 days. Just stay right there. Save on Shells with Anthony at 1827 Overland and Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes. These are wonderful, wonderful people. Call Anthony at 312-1525. Why should you call him? because if you're looking for a camper shell for your pickup, he's got all the styles. He's got all the different colors. I'm telling you, this guy has got every camper shell, I think, in America right there. Save on Shell's been in business since 1995, and boy, you can't miss them right there on Overland, and they've got lots of new shells, and they've got used shells. They've got quality, service, low prices. I swear by Anthony and his business called Save on Shells. Absolutely the best. Give him a call. Make sure he's there. 312-1525. Save on Shells. Believe me, nobody's going to treat you any better for a camper shell for your pickup than Save on Shells. Believe me. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, hello again. You know, I don't want to burst your bubble, but Columbus Day is actually October 12th.
That's right.
And this is a perfect example of rewriting history.
Yeah. Well, it is, but you know what, Keith? I'm not gonna get jumping up in the air and demand that everything be moved right there on that specific day and everything. But I am going to demand and jump up in the air when the NRBs, the Not Real Brights, try to change it to Indigenous Peoples Days. The meaning of the day for Christopher Columbus Day is what I'm sticking with.
Well, and I think you're doing the right thing. I just don't understand why we can't leave things the way they are. You know, I get them old just like you, and we kind of get set in our ways, but October 12th has always been Columbus.
I agree with you, but you know,
running our country want the day off, so they make it on Monday.
I know, and I don't agree with it either. I don't. I think it should be and remain on the specific date that it was to be honored. I totally agree with you. The same as the analogy of Christmas on December 25th. I totally agree with you. But I'm going to put up a bigger fight and a bigger argument against the NRBs that are trying to change it to Indigenous Peoples Days. That's my bigger argument right now.
Yeah, and that's totally wrong, because there again, you're trying to rewrite history.
Yep, absolutely. And who are you?
People that are 50 years ahead of us that are going to be going to school.
Yeah.
They'll say, what was this Indigenous Day?
Yeah, who are you or me or anybody? Think about this. Who are you to rewrite or reassume history of 400-500 years ago or 200 years ago? Who are you with the 20/20 hindsight of looking it up in history books or whatever to criticize those that were there and performed at that time?
Let's ask Adam Schiff. He has all the answers.
You spoiled everything for me there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Thank you. Okay. Don't forget Dino's Septic Service. That's so appropriate to have Dino's Septic Service and septic tank pumping talking about Adam Schiff. Anyway, Dino's Septic Service, and boy, have they expanded their business to better serve more people all over southern Idaho. Let me tell you, septic tank pumping, liquid waste removal, septic inspection, sewer and sink drain lines clean, backhoe services, they are the best at what they do, absolutely. Dino's Septic Service. And the number's 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service with a big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air quickly because I got to give away some cookies. Go.
Yes, morning, Zeb. My whole thought on today is it is Columbus Day, and we celebrate it, and we're happy for it. They want to talk about people who conquered. What about all the other conquerors that happened throughout time in history? They forget about that plain and easy enough. I'll let you go.
No, Riley, wait a minute. I want to just make a comment because you're 100% right. Did he leave? Oh, darn, he hung up. Because mankind has seen, whether it was Alexander the Great or even Attila the Hun, Attila the Hun and many others, there was always a progression. There was always an advancement of a group of people or certain people taking over other areas for mankind. You can't just criticize one group and feel like you have the satisfaction of righting the ship. Not at all. I want to give away some cookies right now. Okay, I know a lot of people look forward to this. Every Monday, we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, what a bakery. All the cookies and the pies and the cakes and the cookies and everything else and the biscuits and you name it, it's great. Along with their restaurant at 530 East Street in Rupert. Good. Sophie's Chatterbox. Now, here's the question. Now, I'm going to put you people on the spot a little bit this morning because it's, I think you'll know this, but on the early episodes, think about this carefully, on the early episodes of Gunsmoke that started to feature Festus as a new character on the show, what was Festus doing to earn a living on the first couple of episodes? Think about it. On Gunsmoke, the early episodes when they started to feature Festus, what was Festus doing to earn a living? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And the winner will receive a dozen cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. What was Festus doing on the early episodes to earn a living? Ha ha! Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I see a lot of people out there would love to have those cookies, and they're going, what? What did Festus do for a living? Well, think about it, excuse me, and give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call that I hope is coming in, don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental. They've got three locations to serve you with the big boys' toys. Let me tell you, they've got all the equipment to get the grading and the leveling and the digging and the pushing and the carrying done. I'm telling you, they've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators, and they've got all the Bobcats. They've got it all at three locations: 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. I'm telling you, they are good with the best of financing programs and leasing rates. Berry Equipment and Rental. You get a hold of them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I believe he was a musician singing with Sons of the Pioneers. Is that close?
No, but you're talking about real life. I'm talking about what he did on the TV show Gunsmoke in the early editions of him coming on the program. But on the other hand, you are right that Ken Curtis was one of the main singers with the Sons of the Pioneer and appeared in a lot of featured movies, especially the John Wayne movie, Rio Grande. So you hit it on the head there. But what did Festus do on the early episodes to make a living on Gunsmoke?
That's a good question.
I know, that's why I asked it. All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Well, Festus was a trapper, a fur hunter, and he was after wolves.
I know who this man is, and if anybody's going to get the answer right, it's going to be Ray Bagby. Festus was known as a wolfer, and that's exactly what he did. You're 100% right.
On both things, because this is Ray Bagby.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Bagby. I had faith that you would call and get that right, because I knew that you knew the answer to that. Even without having called you or anything, I'll tell you what, you did a good job. And it was never mentioned after the first couple of episodes, because then, after he was incorporated into the TV show, he basically became kind of a deputy under Matt Dillon, and they never mentioned his being a wolfer after that.
That's true, yeah.
So enjoy your cookies and get a hold of the people over at our friends at Sophie's Cookies and tell them when you're coming in.
I sure will, and thank you, Zeb, and you have a good day.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Yep. Old Festus was known as a wolfer, and the cattle ranchers around the area of Dodge City, Kansas, they hired him to get rid of the wolves. He was known as a wolfer. There you go. But the other gentleman was right, too. The real Ken Curtis that played Festus was an outstanding singer with the Sons of the Pioneers for a long, long time. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I had a chance to meet him at Clovis, California. Now it's been... I'm aging myself. It's been 16, 17 years ago when I was announcing Clovis, California. He lived in the area, the Clovis-Fresno area, and I had a chance to meet him, and he always had a box at the rodeo right down in front. So a nice man, very nice man. Don't forget Lennox and Ramsey Heating and Electric, all teamed up, and they've got the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox featuring remote control access, so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox are offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system. So make yourself comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. All right, callers, you are welcome to give us a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Ray Bagby, the winner of the cookies for this morning. By the by, isn't it strange? But Hunter Biden, if you didn't hear about this, Hunter Biden, Joe's little bitty boy, well, he's quitting. He's quitting his Chinese board of directors job. And why? I find it interesting that all of a sudden he's going to be leaving at the end of the month. And he said that basically he doesn't want to cast any doubt on his daddy's campaign. Are you kidding? I hope the Republicans and everybody else goes after him for all the money that he made, garnered, and brought home on Air Force Two and everything else. It's not going to cut down on any questions, and it shouldn't. There should be a full-scale investigation as to what Hunter Biden was doing. This guy was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. He was drug addicted, had a lot of problems with drug addiction and alcohol, thrown out of the Navy, and then all of a sudden becomes this very astute, all-knowing businessman that is working with two great big board of directors, a Chinese board of directorship, and also over in the Ukraine for a gas company. And people aren't going to ask questions? Give me a break. Oh, but he's leaving the Chinese board at the end of the month, so it doesn't cast any aspersions on Daddy Joe. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I read in the paper on Saturday, and this is one of my pet peeves, so bear with me. Great big story on the front page. Solar project starts soon. Idaho's largest solar farm will be near Rogerson, and there's a great big story about Idaho Power, and a picture of Dan Olmsted, and quotes from Sven Berg of Idaho Power saying that projects like the 120-megawatt solar farm down by Rogerson will help Idaho Power achieve its 100% clean energy goal while also benefiting customers. I question that because I have a lot of questions for Idaho Power, all of which are not being answered. Because Idaho Power is too cowardly to come on this program and answer questions that I know you and I want to know. I hear something on the line. Wheels, is that static on this line? Do we need to refurbish with a new phone line quickly?
No, I'm not hearing anything on my end yet.
Boy, I'm getting a ton of static. Leave your headsets on and really monitor that, if you would, please. But I find it very offensive that Idaho Power would pick and choose media that is friendly to them and only going to create a rosy, oh, let's all go down the road of Oz, everybody's smiling attitude about their solar project. Nobody's talking about what the costs are going to be or the frailties, what they will be. But they come out and say it's going to be a 100% clean energy goal while also benefiting the customers. Well, there's a lot of questions. I could make up from this newspaper story at least 100 interview questions for whether it's Olmsted or Sven Berg with Idaho Power or anyone. But again, I want to reiterate, they have been invited on this program numerous times. They will not return my phone calls, and they will not come on. And it was Sven Berg, the person that's quoted in this story, that personally told me, no, they wouldn't come on this program because it was, quote, too political. What does that mean? Are they too ashamed of what they're doing? Are they too cowardice to come on and answer the questions? I believe so. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. My question, too, is who owns that property they're going to be putting the solar farm on?
You know, and there's a lot of, I've got a lot of questions like that, but let's just forget about the ownership for just a second, okay? Doug, look at the land that is being used, and I think it's frivolous waste of land, whether it's for these solar panels or whether it's for wind farms. Look at the land that is being taken for these projects that are unnecessary.
Exactly. And look at the carbon footprint they're creating to go green.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, how much green energy how more green energy can you get than hydropower?
You're preaching to the choir by telling me that.
I know, but you let them explain. How can you get more green energy than hydropower?
But what more can I do? The call was made, and it was a very friendly call, and Mr. Berg basically shined me on. What is it about these solar farms? What is it about wind power? What is it about their goal for green energy at 100% in, 20 years? What is it about it that they don't want to answer questions, and why?
Because they know it is a farce on the American people. They know it is just a crony capitalism deal that they're going to push through in the name of green energy.
I've done Idaho Power some favors on this program over the years. And I'm going to mention names, especially Dan Olmsted, when they wanted to get on and they wanted to talk about various projects. And I find this a very a slap in the face and a lack of integrity and a lack of professionalism on their part. And I'm not going to, you remember, they made a comment that, oh, pretty quick I'll go away, meaning me. No, this is one fly that's going to keep coming back to their plate of milk because I think they're not being honest with the public and they're not answering questions.
Exactly. Well, yes, I agree with new technology, but let the private sector do it, not these tax-free government entities go in and do it and force it down our throat.
Yeah, and we, the ratepayers, are the ones holding perhaps an empty billfold.
Right. And one thing I have a problem with, too, is like Idaho Power has this section, another electric company has this section. You have to buy your electricity from them. Where's the free market out there?
I much rather, there was a quotation in the paper that said, Idaho Power will stop purchasing electricity from Nevada's North Valmy coal-fired power plant west of Elko in 2 stages, beginning at the end of this year and wrapping up before 2026. Right there, that tells me a lot. I'm scared of what might happen. I'm scared about total green energy. I'm totally worried about the access and the continuation of green energy. And you are probably the same way, Doug, but how can we have our questions and our thoughts maybe go away without being able to ask them the questions and get responsible answers?
We We need to.
Yeah.
And we need to demand it.
Well, you tell me then, good buddy. Tell me how much more demanding I can be. They will not even speak.
Well, you just got to keep poking the bear until the bear gets mad and decides to fight back, and then you got him.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. This bear on this end of the microphone is fed up with their cowardice.
Well, yes, and that's what they are. If they won't come on and stand behind their position, then their position is not worth standing behind.
And you know, the thing is, about anybody that comes on this program, and I know that you'll agree with me, you don't have to. If you think I'm wrong, please tell me. But they're not going to be treated rudely. They're not going to be treated unprofessionally. We're going to go through the various questions and try to answer them. But they didn't have the courage to even do that.
Yeah, that's a sad deal.
I got to run. Thank you, buddy.
And this Hunter Biden deal, that is going to be a big can of worms opening up.
There are not enough fishermen in the world to bait all the hooks with the worms that this is going to cause.
I know it. He's innocent until proven guilty, but the facts that are coming out aren't looking real good.
Amen. Hey, listen, man, I appreciate you. Thanks, Doug. Got to do a weather forecast. Thank you.
All righty. Hey, everybody, let's do what you can for the senior centers. Let's support them, donate to them, go eat there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Doug. Now he's gone. Thank you. Time for the weather, and it's brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they know that hearing loss affects each person differently. And they have expert diagnostic skills, personalized treatment plans, and access to all of hearing technology right there at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, I'll be right there. I want you to remember and write this number down, though, please. This is a new number for them, and you don't want to miss this. 417-8799. That number again, 417-8799. Of course, it's got that 208 prefix. But you call them for a hearing screening today. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they are, of course, right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. You call them today. Caller, I'll be right with you. I got to get the forecast in. Here's Gina.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this Columbus Day Monday, and it's going to be nice. We are expecting sunny skies. Winds out of the west at about 10 miles an hour, expecting a high of 65. Gusts as high as 21 miles an hour for today. Tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of around 34. Tomorrow, again, a beautiful day. Sunny skies, high close to 70. Partly cloudy for tomorrow night. A little bit of a breeze, expecting a low of 39. By Wednesday, going to be beautiful. Sunny skies, high of 73 with an overnight low of 41. Thursday, the winds are going to be picking up. We do have a slight chance of showers in the afternoon. Partly sunny skies and cooling down to 57 by Friday. Mostly sunny, mid-50s. And for the weekend, we are looking at the chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the upper 40s to low 50s. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7th Range.
Oh, my. Kind of a up and down weather forecast for the next couple of days. Brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And the number you need to call, let me give it to you again, 417-8799. That number again, 417-8799. Please don't put it off. Your hearing is important. They can help. They will help at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, you've been very patient. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Frosty Wooldridge, and I just want to follow up on the caller that was just on, and that is this. You're talking about the land and the green energy that goes with it. I want to also bring into play what is going to be a major factor for land in this country in the coming 30 years. And I know some of you that have been listening to me over the years understand this one, but this is going to be a major part of one of the chapters of my forthcoming book. And that is this. It's called Ecological Footprint. And, you know, our land is precious. Our land is also diminishing as we continue to grow and add another 3 million people to the country every year, driven by mass immigration and their birth rates. But I'll give you an example. In Africa, an African person, let's say Somalian or Sudanese or Congolese or whatever, they use 0.4 acres of land to subsist, to live. That's the ecological footprint. That's all they need is 0.4 acres. When they get to the United States, in order to support that same person, according to allspecies.org, their ecological footprint on the planet then jumps to 25.4 acres. Now, we're about to add 140 million people, okay? Brought to you by the U.S. Congress and the 1965 Immigration Reform Act. And what that means, let's just say 100 million to make it easy. 100 million times 25.4 acres adds up to 2.54 billion, B as in boy, billion acres of land that has to be taken out of wilderness, has to be taken out of trees, has to be taken out of animal habitat, has to be taken out of the natural world and turned into parking malls and turned into houses and tract homes and farming, fields for corn and wheat and barley and everything else that goes with that. And most people don't realize this, that amount of land, I think, if you do your math right, is greater than the size of Maine, 2.54 billion acres of land. So as you can see, we're putting ourselves in a corner when it gets to land, and we're putting the animals and all the creatures that thrive here in the United States will be backed into a corner. And so I wanted to bring that in because I was listening to this, the conversation with Doug. And also to add to that, even Michael Moore, the filmmaker who causes all sorts of problems out there, he realized that all this green energy is not going to work. It can't measure up to what oil does, whether it's wind power, whether it's solar power, whether it's nuclear power, or whether it's coal power. Nothing is close to the power generated and the versatility of gasoline. So the crisis is we keep adding more people to this country, another 140 million of them. Guess what? They're all going to be burning oil, burning it up much faster, and that leaves all of us with a situation that's going to be a nightmare for future generations.
First of all, I want to say something. You scared the daylights out of me when you called because I looked at my cheat sheet and I said, "Is it 9:30 already?" No, it's not. But that being said, I absolutely thank you for coming in at that juncture and clarifying a point and even enhancing a point that we are looking at a problem in this country with Idaho Power and other power companies trying to go 100% green just to appease the environmentalists, which in essence tells me that the environmental movement is all messed up, because if they really stopped and looked at what they're doing and causing to happen, it's actually denigrating the environment, not helping it.
Well, it certainly is, and all of this talk about electric cars. Well, guess what? The electric cars are always charged with a coal-fired plant or a natural gas-fired plant, and so the pollution is still erupting into the biosphere. And the key here is, again, why are we adding 140 million more people to this country? And why do we want that kind of an ecological footprint that I just described, and why would you want to take out that much wilderness, literally 2.54 billion acres of land, when we could just change course and not allow another 140 million people added to the United States, virtually all of it by immigration?
Absolutely.
Obviously, my argument makes sense. Anybody else's argument that sits there and says, "Oh yeah, we can just take all the people we can take, and that's going to be great." Well, no, it's not going to be great. And again, as I said, I think I said earlier this spring when we were on, how does anybody in Idaho want to see another 10 or 20 million more people added to Idaho? And exactly what would be your reasoning behind that? What would be the positive aspects of adding 20 million or more people to Idaho?
I got to run to the news, but Frosty, God bless you, man, and I'll talk to you in about, half hour or so. Thank you.
Okay, I'm here for you.
All right, buddy. Thanks much. Caller number 2, I'll be right there quickly. I'm running out of time. I want to remind everybody about the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they're having a big fall tire sale right now, and they've been doing the right thing since 1952. All the tread designs, all the tires, all the sizes for all the vehicles, cars, pickups, SUVs, camp trailers, boat trailers, horse trailers, they're all there. They've got all the tires. Big fall tire sale going on right now. Don't forget, too, the best best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and so much more with the best in service. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got exactly 30 seconds, real fast.
Yeah, Zeb, I read the same article you did the other day, and I thought about Sven being from Sweden. We know what kind of a messed up country that is.
I appreciate your call. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you. Oh, I tell you, I'm irate about Idaho Power acting with a lofty, kind of a turned-up nose attitude at myself in the media and others. They won't answer questions. They're just going to do what they do and just basically say to us, the media and the common man, I'm not going to sit down and answer your questions. You're not worthy. Idaho Power. They got a personality problem. We're going to take a little break right now and be back in about 7 minutes. Don't go away. Oh, good morning. Look at that blue sky outside. Man, oh man, the next couple of days are going to be up into the 70s, they said, and I'm looking forward to that. I love the fall when it's not too bad, Indian summer. Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations celebrating a great big fall tire sale right now. You stop in and see them today. And some other advertisers that we really appreciate include Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living, beautiful place at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, another fine advertiser on our program here every day, Western Way Services, Wheels Please.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Way Services, they are living up to that title, always at your disposal. Absolutely. The number to call, 734-6969 to get on the route service, or to perhaps have them drop off a dumpster. You fill it up, they'll come get it. All kinds of things to get rid of your trash. Western Way Services, 734-6969, always at your disposal. Pardon the cough. Lovely hay fever and fall with the dust and everything. A lot of people going through that right now. Want to remind you, too, about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, and they've teamed up. And, boy, they've got the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat, which features remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere. That's right. Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with Lennox, offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. So make yourself comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459 or go online, ramseysonline.com. One other quick message that we want to say a big thank you, and that's Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I was over there the other day, and I'm telling you, folks, they are helping me. They can help you. If you're aching and paining or recuperating from an accident or an injury of any type, please give them a call. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists over there, they really have a knowledgeable staff that can help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And the number to call, make an appointment, please do it for you, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Well, it's Monday, and I was a little bit concerned because, kind of my fault, I hadn't checked because it's Columbus Day. I didn't know if these folks were going to be in their offices this morning, but we say good morning to the President of Americans for Limited Government, Rick Manning. How are you?
I am doing great. Happy European expansion into North America Day.
Don't expect me to repeat that. I can't. You know, it's Columbus Day. It's not Indigenous Peoples Day. And I'm going to stand behind the fact that it's so easy for some of these NRBs, which stands for Not Real Brights, to turn around with 20/20 vision and look back 100, 200, 500 years and criticize history. I'm fed up with this. It's going to remain Columbus Day to me.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. In fact, the entirety of the attack on Columbus Day is an attempt to delegitimize effectively the Western European influence on the world, to delegitimize capitalism, to delegitimize the actual expansion of Christian values around the world, and to delegitimize the economic miracle that's occurred in the last 500 years, where people have risen from feudal households to strong middle class and the wealthiest time in the history of the world.
Absolutely.
So that's what they're attempting. That's what they're attacking, because AOC told us just this weekend that after all, wouldn't it be nice if we went back to generating our growing crops the way we did when indigenous peoples were here, which means everybody starves. That's subsistence farming is what their vision for the future is.
Yeah, but
back on the West.
And you know,
subsistence farming.
The idiocy of that statement, it goes without saying that this woman absolutely should not be holding any office serving the people. With the masses of people that live within the confines of huge cities, be it L.A., San Francisco, Chicago, New York, wherever, that's addressing to them that they're not going to have any food. They're not going to have access to any food. They're not going to have the transportation for any food.
She's an advocate for mass famine.
Yeah.
But recognize she doesn't realize that. Okay, I mean, in fairness, the problem is that there's a generation of people who are ignorant. There's a generation of people who don't realize that food has to come from the ground. And when they eat meat, it's got a face. There's a generation of people who don't realize that in order to feed, just in this country, 330 million people, you need vast swaths of land to be able to produce the wealth of food that comes out of the ground. And it doesn't come out of the ground just because it wants to. It has to be cultivated. It has to be grown. It has to be and there has to be a profit motive behind growing that food. So they don't realize any of that, and as a result, that is a failure on our part by turning our education system over to the people who had the revolution in the street in the 60s that got put down. So they took over our schools, and AOC is the direct result.
But the problem is, Rick, and I want you to address this part of it, her voice is being heard by millions and millions of people that are as uneducated about what's really going on in the real world as her, and so she becomes a champion for that cause, and it hurts agriculture even more. Do you agree or disagree?
I think agriculture was being hurt regardless. The thing that's helpful to me, in my mind, about AOC is she gives voice to that, and it gives us a chance to educate. And I don't look at any of this as being hopeless. Because the truth is we're right, and people are sentient, and they're able to think. And so given that, it gives us an opportunity to have a discussion and a conversation about what is real. And what she's saying is absurd. So the question these people have to be asked is, well, 5 out of 6 people in the country are going to die. Which 5 out of 6 are you? Who are the? Look around you. There's 6 people. 5 of you are going to die.
Absolutely.
Pick which ones.
Yeah.
And by the way, do you want to be one?
Absolutely.
Because quite honestly, if you live in the inner city, the people who are going to feel the pain if you actually do the stupid stuff they talk about are not the people who have the capacity to raise their own, to live a relatively unconnected life, who live in rural America, who aren't in cities, the people who are going to be the most impacted are people who are dependent upon the food arriving every single day, fresh in their grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people who are impacted, and so it's a when you get down to it, and that's where this mindset exists. So it is in fact truly a suicide pact to say, gee whiz, we want to go back to subsistence farming. Well, try doing that on the top of a 90-story building on Manhattan.
Amen. Very well stated. Rick, I can't think of anybody that could ABC this next story and lay it out so that I and others can really understand and comprehend what's going on. Whether it's Turkey or whether it's Syria or the Kurds or what's happening over there with the Turkish invasions, and they're a NATO ally and they're turning into bad guys. What in the world? How would you lay this mess out so that we can understand what's happening and what needs to be done to stop it?
Okay, first of all, we need to look at it geopolitically. Syria is a sovereign country, okay? Turkey is a sovereign country. Presumably Iraq is to some extent, and Iran is, okay? So all those players are sovereign countries. We have 10 years ago, for what was supposed to be 30 days, put American troops on the ground to try to deal with this JV ISIS situation. And so we put American troops on the ground in Syria. Effectively, we invaded Syria. Okay, so Syria didn't invite us in, and we weren't invited guests. So we invaded Syria with troops. And those troops have remained there for about 10 years. And it's a minimal number. It's not, there's anywhere from 100 to 1,000 troops there. There's been 2,000, 5,000 troops there at any given time. And their job has largely been support, although they've been in direct fire a lot of times also. But they are in a sovereign country that isn't ours. Okay? So Syria, so we've been working alongside the Kurds. The mission was wipe out ISIS. ISIS got wiped out. So the president said, well, if ISIS has been wiped out, the mission's been accomplished, why are these guys still here? And worse, why am I having to explain to parents why their child is dead in the service of the United States for something where I can't tell them what the mission is? I can't tell those parents why their child is dead. So, given that, the president said this is an optimal time to move those troops out. Turkey, taking advantage of the situation, said, "Okay, well, we're going to attack the Kurdish positions, that are based in Syria." So Turkey made the decision to cross over the Syrian border and attack Kurdish positions in Syria. The reason Turkey made that decision, and I'm sorry, I have to go through the complications because this is complicated.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a hard decision.
Mm-hmm.
The reason Turkey made that decision is because our Kurdish allies, who are communists, by the way, our communist Kurdish allies, were engaged in weapons trafficking and insurgency and running a Ho Chi Minh Trail from Syria up into Turkey to the Kurdish allies in Turkey, their Kurdish allies in Turkey, to fight an insurgency revolution against the Turkish government.
Oof.
So we've got the communists who are running guns that we're providing them, by the way, up into to Turkish Kurds and violating Turkey's sovereign space in doing so. And the Turks are saying we want to have a demilitarized zone, essentially, of 20, 30 miles along our border, in which case we're keeping this gun running operation under check. So that's what Turkey's objective is. Turkey is our NATO ally. Turkey, to be clear, the government of Turkey they're not good guys. Okay? Erdogan is not a good guy. He was a good friend of Obama's. He's not a good guy. He's not a Western type guy. He wears a suit. He's a lot like Assad or Saddam Hussein or one of those kind of dictators in the Middle East who wear a suit and try to keep the Islamists under control. And he has stated he's trying to reestablish the Ottoman Empire. Okay? So we're sitting here with, let's say, 1,000 troops on the border between Syria in Syria, where we're not supposed to be, facing our NATO ally, who's coming across the border and bombing Syrian Kurdish positions. And the President of the United States said, "Why are we doing that? What is the United States' interest in doing that?" And I understand I feel very strongly the initial knee-jerk of we have to stand by our allies, the Kurdish allies, and that's a very potent argument. But in the Middle East, they have a saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And in this particular instance, we were their friend because we were the enemy of their enemy. At one point, Saddam Hussein, another point, the Assad, but that was the relationship. Doesn't mean we're friends. It means that we had mutual interests. Our mutual interests no longer align, and consequently, we disengage. Before the weekend was out, the Kurds made a pact with the Assad government in Syria and Damascus, and are now which is going to.
I think we
want to defend their border. They have every right to do that, and the Turks have a reasonable reason for wanting a demilitarized zone. But you know who doesn't have an interest in what happens there? Us. So putting our blood and treasure in the way, and kind of putting our resources in. At some time you have to disentangle, and that's what the president decided. It's a hard decision, and as I explained, it's very complicated. But that's the situation on the ground.
That was the best dissertation on what really is happening I've heard from any commentator on any show over the weekend. But my next question would be, okay, we need to disavow to be in there and not be a part of this mess. But when you have Senator Lindsey Graham and others crying, oh, woe is us, we've got to go in there and support the Kurds, what do you think's going to happen over the next week? Because I think it's going to all come down to the next couple of days as to what we do or don't do in this mess.
Well, I would encourage Senator Lindsey Graham to introduce a bill that we invade Syria so we can have troops there legally and declare war on Syria, because that's the only excuse for having troops in Syria. And at the same time, as long as he's invading Syria, he needs to declare war on our NATO ally, Turkey, because we're going to be fighting the Turks. So if Lindsey Graham truly wants to, as opposed to making speeches, okay, if he wants to act as a congressman, a member of Congress, using Congress's power under Article 1 to declare war, move forward and declare war against Syria so we can justify having troops in Syria, and declare war against the Turks so we can fight against the Turks. If you're not going to do that, don't sit there and posture around it, we've got to defend our allies, blah, 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 but pretend that we're not crossing sovereign borders. We don't have a right to just drop our troops in anywhere and kill whoever we want and then stay because we made a big old mess. That's wrong. If we want people to respect our borders, our southern border, then we don't open and start respecting other people's borders. And if there's a real need for the United States to deploy our military and use force, then we need to deploy our military and use force in a way that we get out because we finish it. And then we get out, and we don't stick around for 30 years trying to figure out how to fix what we broke.
Absolutely.
But right now, we have broken. The system was broken. First of all, Middle East was broken when they drew the lines after World War I. Okay, that's when it was really broken, because you had all these different people groups that are living in the wrong places, and the lines are drawn in ways that didn't make sense based on real people groups. But I can't do anything about that. All we can do about things that were done 100 years ago, what we can do is right now say, this is not our fight. We need to get out. And if Lindsey Graham and Congress wants to vote to invade Syria so we can fight Turkey, or ally with Syria and Russia so we can fight Turkey, that's certainly okay. But I certainly want to. But we do have a mutual defense pact with Turkey through NATO. And ultimately, Turkey could call on our NATO allies to join them in the fight against us, because we were busy trying to defend the Kurds.
Absolutely.
It's a mess. It's hard to deal with. But at Congress, if they want to actually do something, actually deal with the real question involved, as opposed to pontificating, and I guarantee you they won't.
Again, I compliment you because that was very, very articulate as to what the problem is, and I appreciate that. I've only got about 5 minutes left, and I want to jump into one other subject this morning, and that's Adam Schiff coming out over the weekend and saying, well, maybe we don't need that whistleblower's testimony after all, and of course we've got the phone transcript, and we can still proceed. My goodness, Rick, I've had the phone transcript since the day after it was released, and I've read everything in there. What are these Democrats doing, and why is Adam Schiff allowed to pull the Democratic Party, and for that matter, the House of Representatives by the nose, anywhere and everywhere he wants to go?
Well, Adam Schiff had the whistleblower transcript at least a month before anybody else saw it. This was all a set piece play. They did not anticipate that President Trump would release the actual transcript of what the conversation was. So they were planning on running we know we did something campaign, and it was terrible and quid pro quo, which they tried to run anyway, but because the president released the transcript, it didn't really go it didn't have the legs they'd hoped it would have. So now they are, they're trying to change move the goalposts. The impeachment effort has nothing to do with anything related to Ukraine except for the fact that the president is looking at the actual origins of the original Russiagate, which scares the heck out of a lot of people who talk to Adam Schiff. But more significantly, when you look at the breadth of what they're doing, the attempt to, they're desperate to get Donald Trump's taxes because that's the key to impeachment. And they're desperate to get every single thing out there that they're plugging around on. It's all about, it's not about justice. It's not that to get the bottom of anything. It's about finding some grounds for impeachment, some point in time in this guy's life. And, they're going to find out that when he was in kindergarten, he violated his safety monitor's ruling, and they'll try to impeach him for that. This is not honest in any way, shape, or form. It's a disgrace. It is an attack on the constitutional power of the Congress because it's abuse of that power. And the fact that they won't allow for basic due process rights that were afforded President Clinton and President Nixon in the past during impeachment, the fact they will not afford those same rights to Donald Trump in the House of Representatives tells you that this is a prosecution in search of a crime, and the Democrats won't stop at anything until they impeach. And what we have to do is we have to tell the Republicans there to stand up, grow a pair, and start fighting.
Absolutely. I wish I had more time. I look forward to Mondays to have you clarify and clear things up for us. Richard Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government. By the way, earth-shattering news over the weekend. The Redskins won a football game. The Jets beat the Cowboys, and the Rams lost. I mean, the sky is falling, Chicken Little.
Well, the Rams lost because they need to trade for Trent Williams from the Redskins, and the Redskins need to get rid of Trent Williams, who's sitting out, and get a draft pick. So that works for everybody. And the Redskins won 17-16 against a team that couldn't beat Alabama. So that tells you how good the Redskins are. And and the Jets won because USC's Sam Darnold is back, and he's a stud. And being a USC grad, I'm very happy to announce it.
Oh, man, that sums it up. But God bless you, my dear friend. Rick Manning, come back soon. Next week, we'll talk to you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Take care, Zeb.
All right, thank you. Great summation right there. I like that. Oh, we got to pay some bills. I want to remind you, excuse me, about Hanson Mortuary with our dear friend Joel Heward, his family, and staff, serving you and your family at 710 6th Street in Rupert. When there's the passing of a loved one, everything is just so tumultuous and everything's up in the air as to what to do, how to get things done. Please stop. Call their number, 436-5633. 5636. Hanson Mortuary, 436-5636. They always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. We have another good friend on this program that we haven't had a chance to visit with for a while, or for that matter, talk about him, and that's Scott Gano of Gano Landscaping. And I urge you to call this time of the year to get your trees trimmed. Yep, fruit trees, ornamental trees, shade trees, large, dangerous trees with a snowy winter. Boop, right through the window. Take care of them. Stumps grounded out. I'll tell you what, they can help. They will help. All you need to do is call Gano Landscaping at 336 South, 450 West of Paul, number 438-2485, or the cell number 431-8733. Nobody does it better than they do. Gano Landscaping. You call Scott today. In just a minute, we're going to be having our dear friend Frosty Woldridge on the program. He scared me to death a couple of minutes ago, calling in the first hour. I really appreciated him doing that. He was listening back in Golden, Colorado, and we thank him for his call. Want to remind you about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, and they've got their great big fall clearance going on right now. A mattress closeout, up to 60% off on mattresses like the limited hybrid mattresses starting at $199, Innerspring Queen mattresses starting at $199. Oh my goodness, you better go in and check that out. And 40% off right now on the window coverings. Oh, my goodness sakes. And they've got all kinds of new, comfortable, beautiful furniture coming in for your fall and winter enjoyment at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see Jeff and the crew today at Lee's Furniture. Really nice people. Talking about nice people, there's also another group that I want to talk about, and that's Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, my goodness. They've got all the side-by-sides. They've got all the four-wheelers. They've got all the accessories. I mean, they've got it for you to get out of that office, get out of that house, get on the four-wheelers or the side-by-sides, and vroom, get up in the mountains and just enjoy the beautiful fall colors. All of this at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Open Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. It's true. This is where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. Right now, let's go back to the phone line. And not only is he a very, very dear friend, but very articulate about what's going on with problems of refugees and illegal aliens and all kinds of population problems in this country. Frosty Woldridge, my dear friend, good morning again.
Well, and good morning, Zeb, and I'm so glad to be with you again. And I hope that everyone really got a piece of that last interchange with Doug about land and what's happening to our country. And beyond that ecological footprint, I don't know if most Americans know this, but foreigners are buying huge chunks of farmland in this country and putting it under their name. So we're really being assaulted on many fronts, and it is a little bit more than sobering.
You know, Frosty, what you said in the first hour when you called in kind of, in many respects, dovetails into what my good friend Rick Manning was talking about back in Washington, D.C. just a few minutes ago with the idiocy and the incompetency of statements from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying, oh, well, we should all get back to growing our own food. That kind of an incompetent statement, I mean, what about the masses in San Francisco, L.A., Chicago, New York, Jacksonville, Florida, whatever? These people aren't going to be able to grow their own food, and what she's promoting basically is death and famine.
I have to share with you, I have really extensively heard that this lady, AOC, I'm not sure she has an IQ above 70. I don't think she has the common sense of a goose. And the third factor is she's a bartender who literally was living in her car. At some point, this lady, they should have IQ tests in order to qualify for the House of Representatives and the Senate, because she would fail. But she's in there now. I think there are some other more intelligent people, certainly in Detroit, that are going to try to run against Rashida. And then, of course, Ilhan Omar is in the same kind of intellectual category as AOC. And I understand there are 3 other candidates that are going to vie for her seat in the next election. So we have a chance to recover our House of Representatives at this point in time. But that lady, AOC, is back in college, we used to call them helium heads. They kind of went around with a head full of air and full of helium, couldn't make sense, and guys would just avoid them after they got down to any kind of a decent conversation.
Yeah, but Frosty, today, of all the times in our history, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to stand behind it 100%, never going to back up. Agriculture and our farmers and ranchers are the most important people in the world because they feed the world. And when you have idiotic, very incompetent, and juvenile statements like AOC saying that everybody ought to get back to the land and grow their own crops, I mean, we're talking about maybe having a little garden. Is that what they're going to do, is have a little 6x6 garden on top of a building someplace and share it with the first 2 floors? This is idiocy.
Well, yeah, and try that in New York City. Try that in Atlanta. You have 8.3 million people with personal gardens in New York City. I'm sorry, that is not going to work. Again, you have this airhead in Congress getting more attention than she should, because she doesn't have anything that is intelligent to say, and yet she gets all of this airtime, and then people that are following her think she has a brain. I'm sorry, she doesn't have a brain. She's not able to use the one she has, and then we're all subjected to this kind of idiocy. So you can't get the next election here fast enough and have somebody displace her. If she gets in again, it means she's just going to continue to have make these outrageously inane statements that we all have to tolerate until somebody else displaces her at some point.
You know, Frost, let me ask you this, and you follow the news, and you write about the news, and you write and speak on various issues, etc., but I think I'm safe in saying this, and I want you to follow up on this, that the Democratic mantra seems to be total regression, total backing up in history, totally backing up in anything that's going to help mankind. And when you have idiots, and she is, and I'll stand behind what you said, AOC standing up there and having people listen to her and perhaps even abide by what she says, this is scary.
It's sobering to understand that I have to admit this, back in the 70s when I was teaching math and science, and I taught in the inner city. And what we were forced to do was pass these kids up to the next grade, whether they could add 2 plus 2 or do a division problem, because it was socially affirmative action. Well, now we have all of those kids that we passed up through affirmative action to make them feel good so they didn't get held back. They never had to be personally accountable or personally responsible for their learning. Certainly reading, writing, arithmetic, math, higher math, science, biology, zoology, and all that goes with that. And so then you have literally millions of kids out there that can't think critically, can't think past their nose, and that's what we're dealing with, and AOC is just an example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Frosty, we have a caller with a question or a comment. Caller, quickly, you're on the air, please. Thank you.
Well, Frosty, you live in Colorado. Minnesota is kind of like Colorado, but it's been, left of center for quite a while. And the last time Minnesota voted for a Democratic a Republican president with 72, and there's a chance that Trump is flipping Minnesota. I don't know that he's going to flip Colorado, which is just a terrible shame. But Minnesota tends to be in the Rust Belt, you might say, and the other night there was 20,000 people there, 20,000 outside, and 40,000 somewhere else, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you say to yourself, well, hell, doesn't that mean that the people really don't listen to the media anymore, and they don't listen to Ocasio-Cortez, or not? But you see, the children are still being indoctrinated, and you wonder what kind of a crisis it will take for them to realize that America won't be America if any of those people ever become in charge. Thanks.
Respond to the caller, please, Frosty.
The caller is right on the money. If we allow what's happening to the country right now to continue, and again, I'll say it again, we are facing another 110 million immigrants from 196 different countries with 196 different cultures, languages, worldviews, and totally different and incompatible religions. America will not be the America that it was 30, 40 years ago. But it will become a new overcrowded, and essentially the best way, anybody in Idaho or the Northwest or anyone listening across America today, have you been to India? You know they have so many different people in India. They call it the world's greatest democracy, but it's not. It's absolutely, and that's why so many Indians are fleeing to America and Canada. Notice all of our hotel-motel chains have been taken over by the subcontinent Indians. They're fleeing because it's a living, breathing nightmare of pollution, of overpopulation, of poverty that you can't get a grip on it. You can't teach. I mean, they're growing by 18 million new babies net gain every year. There's no way they can even get teachers enough to teach. They can't get the food enough they can't clean their water. The Ganges is a filthy cesspool sewer pipe going out into the Indian Ocean. How do I know? I was there. So do we want that? And again, I'll ask the question, does anybody in Idaho want to see Idaho add another 20 million people, or even 10 million, or even 5 million? Because that's what's coming, Zeb.
I know it is, and here's what I got to ask you, Frosty. I'm getting a bunch of background noise that somewhat is wavering in the phone call, so we need to hold that really still. We have another caller, and then I've got to ask you another question and make a statement about refugees. So, caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead fast, please.
Yes, Zeb, Frosty, we produce a lot of food and supply the rest of the world with food. How is this going to affect the food supply for the rest of the world?
Well, again, excellent question. The food supply for the rest of the world. I don't know if anyone appreciates this or not, but about 12 million people starve to death every year around the world, most of them in Africa, certainly in India. And Indochina, where it's just so overpopulated, there's no way to get enough food to literally feed them. And at some point, these countries are not going to be able to buy food from America. And so, and the problem is, again, the human race is about to add 3 billion more people in the next 30 years. Folks, that's 3 billion more people in the next 30 years. The answer to that is we're not going to be able to feed all these people. So the only hope for America is to rescind the 1965 Immigration Reform Act and stop mass immigration into our country so we can feed our own people, and then if we have anything left over, we could feed other countries in other situations. And so that's about the only answer that I can think of that's rational and reasonable.
Absolutely. Caller, thank you, Tony. Appreciate your call. Frosty, I've got to jump in here and tell you an occurrence that happened to me about 7 days ago. A doctor, a very well-known, very respected doctor, and I were having a conversation about refugees and the millions of people coming into this country. And this doctor, whom I have the utmost respect for, said to me that because of a lack of record keeping, a lack of having any knowledge about their medical backgrounds, their immunizations, anything on these people, his concern as a doctor would be the involvement of these refugees and foreigners coming in with no documents, working in the food service businesses in America, and we could end up with an extraordinary, devastating problem because of our food being contaminated. What are your thoughts?
There's no question about that. We've already seen that kind of a consequence with the illegal immigrants from Mexico. They do not normally wash their hands because it's not a part of their culture. And for those of you who know what it's like in the third world countries, they put their toilet paper into little boxes next to the toilet because the cisterns and the sewage systems can't handle it. I've actually seen toilet paper thrown on the floor in the southern states in Arizona and New Mexico and Texas because it's just culture and it's just habit. So there's no question, when you bring all these cultures into the third world, they don't all of a sudden wash their hands, they don't check for diseases, they don't really have an understanding of what it is to have sanitation and cleanliness, and therefore they're cutting your onions, you're cutting your tomatoes, they're preparing your food, and the CDC can't keep up with it. Most folks don't realize this, but the CDC cannot keep up with the kinds of diseases that are coming into the United States. I wrote about it several years back, and yet we continue. And I just saw a new piece in the High Country News where Idaho is taking in all these wonderful new immigrants from the Congo. Well, guess what, folks? Those immigrants are coming into our country, and they didn't fly over here on their own dime. We paid for it. We, the American taxpayer, and we're paying for all the welfare. I wrote a counter and a rebuttal to that almost totally inane and ridiculous. There was a powder puff piece saying, oh, the wonderful people of Idaho are so happy to see all these new Congo refugees into their cities. Nobody in Denver is happy to see all these Somalians here because they literally have honor killings. They've got female genital mutilation. They've got little Mogadishu right here in Denver with all these Somalis. They've taken over Fort Morgan. Well, the same thing is happening and will happen right there in Idaho with people that simply have no affinity to first world countries. They have no intellectual horsepower to blend in and or contribute because they just don't have the abilities to literally contribute to a first world country like America, so they will remain on welfare for the duration, and of course the disease aspect will start manifesting itself as their lack of sanitation and their diseases start to multiply, explode, or balloon in the areas where they are living.
Absolutely. We have one more caller. I've got time for one more. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks. I'm an Idahoan, obviously, and I tell you this, we still see the people throwing their used toilet paper in the corners of the restrooms in restaurants and truck stops, stores. See it all the time. It's disgusting, and it's scary. And on top of that, as an Idahoan, heck no. I'm not happy to have these people coming here from the Congo or anywhere else. We got enough problems as it is trying to take care of the Idahoans that we have and the people coming up here to work that's causing problems and bringing diseases and illiteracy and don't want to do anything. And I'll leave it at that. I better go.
Frosty, comment on what the caller had to say, please.
You know, and that's exactly what I told High Country News. I said that Idahoans are furious that they're paying for this and that we then have to degrade our own school systems for our own kids to have to try to teach these people from Congo. And, this is a sobering reality. When I was teaching in the inner city in Franklin Street School in Grand Rapids, Michigan back in the early 70s, these kids just didn't have the intellectual horsepower. But if you all look up, just go to www.brainstate.com. It shows the IQ of all the different countries in the world and why cultures are successful or failures. And the IQ in the Congo, look it up, is 68. So the average person out of the Congo or Somalia or Sudan or Ethiopia, those folks, it's not their fault, but it is their condition. A 68 IQ is just about totally incapable of doing a division problem. It's like asking somebody driving a Volkswagen to get into the Indianapolis 500. Sure, the Volkswagen could go 60 miles an hour, but everybody in the Indianapolis 500 is going over 200 miles an hour. So when you have that thing happen, you simply put all these people completely out of their realm into this country so that they have no affinity to us, we have no affinity to them, and they get to live on welfare. Whereas if we had an American citizen go over to Somalia, how do you think you'd thrive over there? I don't think an American citizen would make it over a week. But since we have all this welfare, they get to have a free ride, but we're paying for it, and we're tired of paying for it. We're $22 trillion in debt in this country, and we can't continue doing this. So we have to, again, rescind the 1965 Immigration Reform Act before our country accepts another 110 million more people in the next 30 years.
You know, Frosty, I wished we had more time every Monday when we meet on the program, but thank you, and I mean thank you, for all that you do, all that you write about, and we'll look forward to next Monday at 9:30. Thank you, my dear friend, back in Golden, and God bless.
And God bless them.
Thank you. He tells it like it is. And quite frankly, I agree with everything he said. And it just takes a little common sense to understand what's really happening in this country. And when you have, like Rick Manning said earlier, too, the incompetency of an AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a bartender that probably never even left the confines of the concrete jungle back in New York, etc., and really got to get out in the country and see how food is grown, produced, and shipped to market, etc., making stupid, idiotic statements that very unfortunately, are accepted as fact by people that are on the same brain wavelength as she. Not real bright. Time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Caller, I'll be right there after this call. After this weather, I should say. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, payroll services, all of this and so much more, with offices in Burley and Rupert serving you, your family, and your business. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this Columbus Day Monday, and it's going to be nice. We are expecting sunny skies. Winds out of the west at about 10 miles an hour, expecting a high of 65. Gusts as high as 21 miles an hour for today. Tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of around 34. Tomorrow, again, a beautiful day. Sunny skies, high close to 70. Partly cloudy for tomorrow night. A little bit of a breeze, expecting a low of 39. By Wednesday, going to be beautiful. Sunny skies, high of 73 with an overnight low of 41. Thursday, the winds are going to be picking up. We do have a slight chance of showers in the afternoon. Partly sunny skies and cooling down to 57 by Friday. Mostly sunny, mid-50s. And for the weekend, we are looking at the chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the upper 40s to low 50s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Range.
And Gina, thank you so much. Brought to you by the professionals. They really do a great job serving you, your family, and your business with the best of accounting services. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Caller, thank you for your patience. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good again, Zeb. It's all about destroying this country any way in that they can. If they can bring in all these people to destroy our culture, destroy our Christian faith, bring in all of these people from around the world that have, like Rossi said, a low IQ, they get on welfare, and of course the Democrats then somehow get them to the polls to vote. It's just really sad that we allowed this to happen. The good news is Trump has really slowed down the refugees. I think he only wants 18,000 this year, and that's 18,000 too many. But it beats the 200,000 or so Obama was bringing in here every year. And I still see the refugee center here in Twin Falls is getting about $800,000 of our tax money. Where does that money go? I mean, what's that being used for? You know, and they used to get a lot more than that. But it's all about you follow the money. CSI wants the money, and they go from there. But we've got to stand up for our Christian heritage. This is a Christian nation. The Supreme Court ruled that many times until the Earl Warren Supreme Court took out prayer and Bible reading out of our public schools, and we've been on a downhill slide ever since.
Couldn't agree more, and that was very well stated. And I'm going to keep pursuing stories about refugees and all the other added stories. But real quick, Adrian, and please don't give me a long answer on this because I've got to do a couple of commercials and go to the news. But when you hear a doctor tell you that his concern because of a lack of medical records on all these people coming in, and the refugees possibly working in the food service business in America, that's very disconcerting.
Oh, absolutely. They're bringing in, we got leprosy back in the country. We got diseases. We got drug-resistant tuberculosis coming in. We got all kinds of whooping cough is back. And everything else is coming back. I mean, things that we haven't had for years and years and years, thanks to this open border policy of bringing in all these people that are unvetted and no medical records. I mean, it's just ludicrous to think about that.
I got to run, but Adrian, thank you so much. Appreciate your call. Thank you. Thank you. I want to remind everybody, too, about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. When you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, you better remember the name and the number to call. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, and the number 436-4424. They are absolutely dedicated and responsive to what you need, and very accessible, too. So please, write the number down, give them a call, make an appointment. 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, by the way, once again, I want to remind you about Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with Lennox, all teamed up to offer the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox, featuring remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere. That's right, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a brand new system. So keep comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. We're going to take a little break right now and let the big boys from CBS News come in and mess up everything we've put together this morning. We'll be back in 7 minutes. Oh, Zeb at the Ranch on this Columbus Day 2019, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a big fall tire sale going on right now, and then also some other great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And let's not forget Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. I want to take just a moment and talk about Anthony over at Save on Shells. When I traded pickups not too long ago, I needed a brand new camper shell, one that met with the paint standards of the pickup. Wow, did this guy do a job for me? And he can do the same for you. Save on Shells, Anthony at 1827 Overland and Burley, and the number to remember, the number to call, 312-1525. That number again, 312-1525. He's got them. He's got all the new shells. He's got a lot of used shells, quality service, low prices, always with Anthony at Save on Shells, 1827 Overland in Burley, or 312-1525. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and this gentleman's been on my program before. He is a retired Brigadier General from the United States Air Force, General Robert Spaulding. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Great. How are you?
I am great. General, I caught you on television not too many days ago, and I wanted to ask you first and foremost, stealth war, how China took over while America's elite slept. How are the book sales going?
So far, it seems to be catching on. I think once people read the book and understand it's really easily readable, it'll grow. But right now, it's the number one new release on Amazon International Business and Finance.
There's so many things that I want you to respond to this morning, if you would, General, and I'm going to kind of go down a litany of questions. First and foremost, speaking of China and also the NBA, I am frustrated as a great basketball fan, played a lot of basketball in my younger days, but the NBA, to me, has sold out patriotism for the almighty dollar. What are your thoughts when it comes to the NBA and China?
Oh, it's not just the NBA, which is, thankfully, it happened to the NBA because it's such a public, association, and sports is so, widely watched here in the United States and both abroad, because it's happening to Apple, it's happening to Google, it's happening to Microsoft. You name a major international corporation or American company that hasn't been corrupted by Chinese Communist Party influence, and I'd be surprised if you could name one.
The problem is now, have we sold our soul to the devil? I think I asked you this the last time you were on the program. Are we so entrenched and basically obligated to China that we can never turn this thing around? Where are we right now?
Well, I think the problem you're seeing right now is a lot of these investment banks, particularly in Wall Street, and a lot of the corporations have a lot of money invested in China, and they're worried about losing that money. But I'll tell you, the money's already gone, and it's just a matter of, do we want to spend more money that way? And so there's a fight. There's a fight going on about, now getting into the retirement funds of Americans about whether or not we're going to send $400 billion, which has already started to go over there, but whether we're going to send the rest of America's retirement funds into China to help cover up the fact that they're so in debt, deeply in debt. So that's what's going on, and a lot of these companies that are promoting it, primarily Wall Street, but also corporate America, because they don't want to lose the money that they already have invested there. Quite frankly, if you actually had a chance to look at the books, because they don't allow us to look at the books of Chinese companies, then you would see how bad the situation is.
I heard a commentary the other day on television when I think it was James Whitlock with ESPN was on there talking about how Nike basically owns the NBA, and Nike has major big-time money in China, and so basically whatever Nike says, the NBA is going to do, and they're certainly going to stand up against the United States and bow to China. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree, and if you look at what went on, the NBA players themselves, when the NBA refused to apologize, the players themselves actually, on behalf of the NBA, apologized because, of course, their endorsements come from Nike, and I'm sure that their pressure was put on them. And now, of course, the NBA has stopped all press conferences for the exhibition games that are going on in China because they don't want to be asked by the media about why they're essentially in league with the Chinese Communist Party.
The thing that bothers me so much, General, is the power and the weight that these NBA players carry, whether it's LeBron James or James Harden or the coaches, Steve Kerr, Popovich, whatever. The weight that they carry with our young people and the swaying of an anti-American attitude and a pro-Chinese feeling, this really worries me.
Well, it should concern you, and quite frankly, what happened was when the Cold War ended, a lot of the apparatus that we had developed during those many decades to protect the population from Soviet influence was dismantled. And a lot of the apparatus that we had to project American influence abroad was also dismantled because we thought essentially that open markets would lead to wealth and wealth would lead to democracy, and we no longer needed to fight in the ideological space. And of course, there is no better entity on earth in projecting their interest in controlling the narrative than the Chinese Communist Party, both in terms of having the strict control over the population and what they think and say, but also the technological and the business, capability that they have developed. So they have all the sophistication in technology of, our former AT&T, particularly the technology arm called Bell Labs, but also all the sophistication from a marketing and data and algorithm perspective of Amazon, a Google, and a Facebook.
General, do you, like myself, when you listen to the news and you hear politicians, and there are so many of them scoff, they literally scoff and walk away from reporters and try to minimize China's effect on the United States and China's effect as far as being our numero uno, number one enemy. What is with these politicians? Are they that inept and are they that uneducated they can't see the forest because a tree's standing in the way?
No, when I was a defense attaché working in Beijing back in 2017, I had the opportunity to go to the Chinese Communist Party headquarters. And when I was there, for the first time, I was informed by them that essentially they had, because all of the decline in communist governments around the world, they had to essentially reach out and broaden their engagement scope. And so what they had been doing is bringing over, Democratic Party and Republican Party representatives, I would imagine, to include, elected officials on junkets to, engage with the Chinese Communist Party. In essence, what the Chinese Communist Party does is sell you their brand of the truth. And because they can control through forced indoctrination and the media and the Internet in China what the Chinese people have access to in terms of information, if you go out in the street, there's a fairly consistent message, and that is we can't handle democracy. And so these people go over there, they get on these junkets with the Communist Party, and they get told that everything's fine, the Chinese people are happy, and of course if they go out and talk to them, they'll hear the same thing. But what they don't realize is all the propaganda, indoctrination that goes on in that society at all grade levels every single day in terms of the media and the environment, the information that they're allowed to consume.
General, I don't want to put you on the spot as far as political stance, but I have to ask this. I would assume that the next election coming up next year, 2020, scares you to death almost in regards to if one of the Democratic nominees becomes president and their lackadaisical attitude towards China, we could be in a lot of trouble as a sovereign nation. Would you agree with that?
Well, let's just put it this way. I am the reason I got out of the Air Force early, I could have stayed and continued on, was to write the book and to get out and speak to the American people, let them know what I had learned working in the Pentagon, studying this competition, why the strategy was built the way it is, what we have to do as a nation, and so that, when they're hearing from their elected representatives or people that want to be elected to office, then they can ask them and hear what their stances are. Of course, if elected or somebody running has a campaign for an office that says the Chinese Communist Party is not a threat to the United States, well, then clearly they don't understand the world as it currently exists.
I have to ask you this morning, even though it's a little bit off the track of what we're talking about this morning, but over the weekend, I tried to follow, tried to understand, and tried to comprehend exactly what's going on over in Turkey and Syria with the Kurds, and Turkey being a NATO ally and now turning into the bad guys. Would you help clear this matter up a little bit for me?
Well, I think for one, the Turks and the Kurds have been fighting for thousands of years, and I don't think that's going to stop. And I think for us, for the United States, what we need to do and what we have been trying to do and what the national security strategy prescribes is slowly weaning ourselves off of spending all this money in the Middle East. And this is one extra conflict that we find ourselves, because we went in to take care of ISIS, in the middle of. And quite frankly, I don't think we or the American people want to be involved in a conflict that's been raging there for 1,000 years. I think what we're trying to do is stop spending so much money in the Middle East, primarily because we have plenty of energy resources here in the United States now, and we are essentially energy independent. We can focus on investing in our own country rather than over there. And I think when we do that, we can be a shock absorber for world energy markets and have less of a focus over there. I don't think our continued stay in the Middle East will benefit in the long run the American people or the people of the region, because eventually they're going to have to sort these things out themselves. Now, in terms of the Kurds, we have been supporting them economically, and we will continue to support them economically. And the president has warned the Turks that, don't go too far here. They're trying to establish a buffer between the two groups, between Turkey and between the Kurds. And I think once they do, like in a lot of situations, they reach a period of equilibrium, then things will calm down.
I think it goes without saying that it's kind of an oxymoron that Trump had said during his campaign for the presidency that that's one of the things he wanted to do is pull out and get out of a lot of wars around the world. But with all this going on with the Kurds and Turkey and Syria and everything else, there are two entities that, in my opinion, are sitting back just folding their hands over their chest and smiling, and that's China and Russia. I think you'd agree with that.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what they're looking forward to, are continuing to spend our treasure and our lives in that region because it weakens us, and they know that it weakens us socially, it weakens us economically, and then they can step in and gain power as a result. And so, go back to Eisenhower and how we focused on building the economy, how we focused on building our science and technology. We spent on infrastructure, the Eisenhower National Highway System, our industrial base, our manufacturing, our STEM education, and our research and development in basic science research. That's what the National Security Strategy calls for, to invest in Americans, in America, and to work with allies and partners to get Chinese Communist Party and Russian influence out of our societies. And I think when we do that, you're going to see the economy grow. People are going to have jobs, long-term jobs with health benefits and retirement benefits, and things are going to start to look normal again in terms of what a thriving democracy should look like.
Let me ask you this, though, as we're almost out of time, but will this situation, and I underline the word situation with the Kurds and Turkey and Syria, will this be a nail pounded into the Trump coffin for re-election, or is this a short-term story that can be solved without too much negative effect on Donald Trump?
Well, I think the president is going to have to keep his thumb on Erdogan and make sure that he doesn't go too far, but yes, it is another part of the news cycle that's used by the president's adversaries, which is, interestingly enough, not just coming from the Democratic Party. The problem with our national security policy today is that most professionals in D.C. don't understand how globalization and the Internet works to destroy democracies from within. I think there's no better example than what happened with the NBA. Again, it's happening throughout our corporate, our financial, our academic, and our political institutions, and we have to stand up and fight it. And we're going to hear all kinds of reasons why we need to keep doing the things that we've been doing for the last 40 years that have nearly bankrupted the country and literally torn it apart. And what we have to do is think of the long run, think of the world that we want to build, just like they were thinking back in 1941 in January, before the war even started in December, on what we needed to do when this war was over, because we'd already come through one, we saw ourselves going through another one, and then, of course, we fought in the Cold War to maintain the same values without having to resort to military force. We can do this again.
Let me ask you this, and it's kind of retrospect, looking hindsight in the rearview mirror, but basically this dilemma that's going on right now was perpetrated and handed to Trump by the Obama administration, was it not?
Well, I would say not just the Obama administration. I think George H.W. Bush had an opportunity to put a stop to this when the Tiananmen massacre happened. I think Clinton had an opportunity to put an end to this by not letting China into the WTO. So, I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around. The point is we need to move forward from here, recognize the world we live in. Economics, finance, and information drives geopolitics today much more so than carrier battle groups or fighter jets. And we need to focus on building our economic and our science and technological strength, and that'll help us in this battle.
Absolutely. Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding, United States Air Force, retired, with his book called Stealth War, How China Took Over While America's Elite Slept. Please tell my audience again where they can obtain a copy of this book.
It's where all your books are sold. It's to the major retailers. You can find it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and some of your local stores can get it for you, probably order it for you if you want.
And I tell you what, I'm going to schedule on the calendar to have you back the same week that Fresno State plays Boise State.
Fantastic. I hope I have a chance. I doubt I will, though.
Okay. General, thank you so much. God bless you for coming on the program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding, United States Air Force, retired, with his book Stealth War, How China Took Over While America's Elite Slept. How true. I've got to get a copy of that book. I haven't had a chance to go to the bookstore yet, and I need to take care of that. Right now, I want to tell you about Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living. Oh, my goodness sakes. These are wonderful people. We went on a tour over there. It's been now about 3-4 weeks ago, and Matt and Kelly Wiggins have hit a home run with a beautiful place designed for seniors to enjoy their life every day with their friends. It's beautiful, and I mean, the kitchen area and the rooms and everything is first class and so handy. Handy is a good word, I think, right there, for everybody to use and enjoy. I urge you to call them and ask for a tour, and that number is 208-650-4979. I'll say it again, 208-650-4979. Matt and Kelly Wiggins, and it's beautiful. Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Absolutely. On this Columbus Day, 2019, couple of quick notes. Boise State University keeps on winning. They are still at that 14th position on the national polls, 14th in the nation. And a shock. I mean, I was surprised. Deanne was surprised. A lot of people were surprised. Shepard Smith, the anchor at the news show in the afternoon on Fox News, all of a sudden announced last Friday, I'm gone, I am out of here. And he quit. And we don't know where he went. He was the very liberal and left-slanted newscaster on Fox News. I can't say that I will miss him. I didn't care for him. I didn't care for his snide attitude and approach to the news, but he is gone, and probably you'll find him on MSNBC or CNN in the next couple of days. But he's out of there. Let's see what else is in the news this morning. Jane Fonda, if you didn't have enough to worry about, Hanoi Jane is back in the news again. And what is she now? 3 or 84? Gotta be. And she said she's going to turn into basically a professional protester for climate change, and she's going to move back to D.C. with the hopes of being arrested on at least a once-a-week basis so that she can tell everybody, we've only got 11 years to live, the world's burning up. Really? tell that to the weather forecast that's around the corner from what we're going to get in the next couple of days. Jane Fonda, I just never have had any respect for her lack of knowledge or her ability to put her foot in her mouth, especially after what she did during the Vietnam War, and trying to become prominent again. Jane Fonda. Hope it doesn't happen. Oh, and Beto O'Rourke condemning churches and saying that as president, he would take away a church's non-tax status unless they, the churches, absolutely would open their doors for same-sex weddings. If not, they lose their non-taxable status. Beto O'Rourke is the lowest of the low. He's down there bottom feeding with Adam Schiff and others. This is absolutely evil, pure evil, and absolutely a part of the Democratic possible nominees for the presidency that we don't want to ever see involved in politics on a national scale again. We're going to take a little break right now. And Wheels, I want you to get on the line, old buddy, old pal. How are we coming through over there? Are you getting any of that little hum that we had last week?
I haven't, but...
I asked about the hum, and you come on and say, Is it the or the hum?
I haven't heard the hum.
Okay, so, but we heard the hum.
Yes. You're coming through great.
All right. Hey, listen, we're going to take a little break and send it back over to you, and then coming up is a gentleman that we really enjoy having on our program because he tells us about money and economics the way we all can understand it, and that's Dr. Michael Busler. So we'll be back in about 3 or 4 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, I tell you what, I want to remind you to be sure and stop over to Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena, they are your electronic needs headquarters. They've got all kinds of electronic needs there that me not being an electronics person, I don't even understand a lot of them, but boy, they've got all the Ring hardware for the doorbells to make sure that your security is prime and that you know who's standing outside. They've got all the home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, all the car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, all of your televisions from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. Woo! I mean, it's all there at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. The number to call, 678-6997. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and that's Patterson's in Burley. Really, really nice people. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and I am honored that this man comes back on a fairly regular basis, and that, of course, is Dr. Michael Busler, public policy analyst, economics teacher, and boy, he can teach me a thing or two. Good morning, Dr. Busler. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you? It's always my pleasure to be here.
I have a question for you, and it's going to show my ignorance, but I'm sure you can handle it. On a standard-sized check for a company, how does one write a check starting in trillions, going to billions, then going to millions, then going to thousands and possibly hundreds, and then the loose change? There ain't enough room, my friend.
There isn't enough room. You certainly can't write checks for trillions of dollars. You have to take a look at really how much $1 trillion is. And when you look at that, it's $1 million. So if you gave $1 million check to 1 million people, that would be $1 trillion. So it's certainly a huge amount of money, and it's something that, it's with regards to the deficit, at least, it's usually it's causing, and the public debt, it's causing some very severe problems.
You know, Dr. Busler, when you talk about trillions and you talk about debt and where we are as a nation in debt, and you start thinking about the currency and all the bills, there evidently, is there that much money printed, or is this just a paper exchange saying you owe that amount? I mean, what really happens here?
Well, there's not a lot of printed dollars. In fact, most of our money supply is not really paper money. Most of it is simply done electronically, and it's measured as balances in checking accounts. So, in other words, for a lot of people, me included, a lot of your handling of money, really you don't handle money. My paycheck is direct deposited into my checking account, and when I don't write checks even anymore, everything is done online and the money is just pulled out. So there's not a lot of actual physical cash that's part of the money supply. Still, we're talking about the total of the money supply, which is measured by there are 13 or 14 different definitions, but the basic money supply, what we call the M1, is coins and currency in circulation and balances in checking accounts. And of that, probably about 75 or 80% of that is balances in checking accounts and not actually money in circulation.
Oh, my goodness. You know, the other day, I was sitting there watching the news, and I just was appalled that Elizabeth Warren could get up in front of a stage of maybe 1,000 supporters for her attaining the presidency and going through her financial plans for America that would only be about $14 trillion. And I'm sitting there going, I'm 72 years old and I can't fathom that kind of money. I can't fathom that kind of an increase in our taxes. Where in the world is all this money going to come from?
Well, that's the big question. I'm not sure that she's able to completely answer that. They keep coming answers like, well, we'll just tax the wealthy more. Unfortunately, there's not enough wealthy people to tax anymore. And the real problem with taxing the wealthy is it will slow economic growth. And why is that? It's very simple. So for the economy to grow, there are essentially two inputs into the economy, labor and capital. Now, fortunately, nearly everybody who wants to work today is able to find a job. So we have plenty of labor coming into the economy. That's not holding up growth. We have a capital-intensive economy today, which means even when we're manufacturing things, we don't do things by hand anymore. We have robots and artificial intelligence in factories rather than people in there. So in order for the economy to continue to expand in the future and bring back some of this manufacturing that has left the country because our wages are high and they're much lower somewhere else, the manufacturing that's coming back will all be very capital intensive. Well, most of the capital comes from corporations after they pay their taxes and dividends to their stockholders, number one. And number two, from higher income individuals. In other words, there are three things everybody does with their income. The first thing is you pay your taxes. What's ever left over we call disposable income. You either spend it or save it. Well, for the average person, most of the disposable income is spent. You have your bills to pay, and we try to put a little, as much as we can, away for savings for future investments and retiring. Well, the higher income earners pay their taxes and live a nice lifestyle, but they have a lot of money left over for making investments into the economy. So when and that provides the capital for the economy to grow. So when you say tax the wealthy, you're reducing the amount of capital going into the economy. And since we have an economy that needs capital to expand, you're going to end up slowing economic growth and stagnating the economy. That's why all these socialist and communist countries don't grow nearly as quickly as we do. They don't allow for an upper class, and they don't allow for capital formation, and you tend to get relatively slow economic growth. So if we want to get prosperity, economic prosperity back, which is what we really should be striving for, we haven't had 4% annual growth in nearly 2 decades. The year 2000 was the last year we had 4% growth. We should be concentrating on bringing back enough growth that we start to feel prosperity again. And the way to do that is to reduce regulations, which President Trump has done, so business has the ability to grow. And secondly, give enough capital to business so they can grow. And again, Trump has done that too by reducing taxes for corporations, the middle class, and the upper classes. So everything we're going to hear on the debate stage, I think the debate's tomorrow night, everything we're going to hear on the debate stage from the Democratic candidates for president will be to increase government spending, increase taxes to pay for it, and eventually that will continue to stagnate the economy.
You know, you are so well versed in economics. I wished I would have had you as a professor. I've said that before while I was in college. But now, here, I'm just a simple old cowboy from Idaho. And you have Democratic nominees saying, we want to excuse all the debt from college students. We want to excuse major medical bills. And then, pretty quick, what happens if the people that we owe all this money to, we being the United States, they start calling in our debt? We're excusing debt and raising our debt. That's a country that's going to go under the water and never be able to come up for air, isn't it?
It certainly is. And when you say excusing debt, it doesn't mean the debt just goes away. The debt is owed to somebody.
Yeah.
So when you excuse the debt, they mean the taxpayers are going to pay off the debt for you. And again, that'll have to be done through raising taxes. So you're asking somebody who either paid for their own college themselves or maybe didn't go to college, and you're asking them to pay for the debt of somebody who went to college and will not take responsibility for the expenses that they incurred. There's a whole lot of bad things that happen as a result of that, some of which you're naming. Other people will say, well, if there's other debt, why don't you start excusing more of the debt? And the answer is you can't excuse debt. It's owed to somebody, so it means the taxpayer is going to have to pay for it. It also sends a real bad signal. If somebody's making a decision, they want to go to college, let them see how much it costs and let them be responsible. My parents were immigrants. They couldn't afford to pay for any of my college. I'm the first generation in my family to go to college. I had to incur a lot of debt. I also went to a university that had a co-op program where you work 6 months and go to school 6 months for 3 years. It took 5 rather than 4 years. But I had to do what I can to pay for my way through school. Now, I ended up getting 3 degrees, and I had to pay for all of them, either by working or borrowing or doing what I could to get through. And I realized when I took on these obligations that they were my obligations. Whether things turn out great for me or not so great, I still have obligations to pay. And I realized the responsibility there, and I believe everybody who takes on an obligation should realize they have a responsibility and they should pay it. Let me also say one other thing about this college debt. It's been blown up to be a huge problem for younger people. Well, the reality is it is not such a big problem. The average college student with debt has about $30,000 worth of debt. You can pay that off over 10 years, which means the monthly payment is about the same as a car payment. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a burden on somebody, but it's not a uncontrollable burden that can't be carried. The real problem is not that you have debt. The real problem is prior to President Trump, there was no opportunity for college graduates to earn enough income to live a nice lifestyle and pay that debt. The prior administration never concentrated on growing the economy and bringing us to prosperity. The prior administration concentrated on curing perceived social injustices. It's injustice everybody doesn't have health care. It's injustice banks take advantage of consumers. Injustice CEOs make more than everybody else. And every time they pass legislation to control those social injustices, it slowed economic growth. President Obama is the only president in history to serve a term in office without having at least 1 year where economic growth exceeded 3%.
We have a caller with a question, but I want to say this first and get a short response. I think the way the left is now, with the liberalized ideas of debt forgiveness, etc., what we are doing in the long run are creating an erosion of personal responsibility for the upcoming generations, and everything is dependent on the government. Would you agree?
I agree completely. What made America great, and remember, we went from the birth of a nation to the largest economy in the world in about 150 years. Other countries were hundreds and thousands of years older. That occurred because we emphasized individual freedom, individual responsibility, low rates of taxation, and a limited role for government. And you're right. Everything the Democrats are proposing now will limit freedom. It will reduce individual responsibility and put on social responsibility. You'll have higher rates of taxation and a bigger role for government. That'll tend to stagnate the economy.
Absolutely. Caller, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Go ahead, please.
Well, I think if they get that free college through, you'll see the tuition go up even at a more faster rate just because it's government paid for in a sense. That's just how it works, seems to me. That's all.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, Dr. Busler.
I agree with him completely. Part of the reason that college tuitions have skyrocketed in the last couple of decades is that the college student never really felt, at least until after he graduated, how much it cost, because they raised the tuition. The government said, well, we'll give you more money to cover that. Either we'll lend it to you or give you a grant. So, well, the student said, look, if I don't have to pay for this, or at least it doesn't seem like I'm paying for it at the time, okay, whatever they charge, they charge. Having the government pay all the debt for everybody would encourage more of that, and I agree 100% with your caller that tuition would go up even faster.
You know, let me ask you this, Dr. Busler. I don't care if it's Harvard. I don't care if it's Yale. I don't care if it's USC. I don't care where it is. I think that the schools, the universities, and the people in charge, they need a real comeuppance, if you would, and understanding that they're creating a lot of the student loan debt problem, and they're way overpriced, and they need to look at their whole card and revamp the way they're structured. Would you agree or not?
I do agree with that. Tuition has been going up ridiculously fast in the last couple of decades. The colleges and universities have not been accountable for this, and they get away with it because students pay it, and students pay it because the government's given them enough money to pay it. You're right. Colleges and universities need to take a hard look at what they're spending money on and work in ways to get their costs down and get tuition down, and that will help resolve some of this problem.
One thing, though, Doctor, and I'm almost out of time, is that what concerns me is you mentioned earlier we were talking about jobs and availability of jobs. It's great to say and see help wanted on all the businesses, but wait a minute. If there's help wanted and we have so many people on welfare, so many people on government aid programs, the problem lies with the people and their incentive to take the personal responsibility to fend for themselves. And this is getting worse day by day. How do we get them to get up off the couch, put the bonbons down, and go to work?
We do it by giving them, by taking away the money that allows them to do that, have that lifestyle. Welfare and food stamps and unemployment compensation are all meant to be short-term programs to get you through a lull in your life. They're not meant to be programs that lock you into welfare for your entire life, or worse yet, lock you into welfare for generations, which is what has happened. If we look, somebody that's hurting, Americans are very compassionate. If somebody is hurting, all of us want to help people that are hurting. But there's a limit to how much help we can give people, especially those who are able-bodied and just find they make out better by not working than they do working. Well, we have to stop that so they don't make out better not working. Let them go back to work, contribute to the economy just like everybody else is doing. So make these programs a little more difficult and some shorter term, and that will encourage people to go back to work.
I'll tell you something else that would help our economy a lot, I think, is in the schools themselves, the education factor of teaching kids how to accept the fact that if they don't want to go on to a major university, they can go into the trades, whether it's electricity, whether it's being a construction manager, whether it's being a plumber, whatever the case might be. We've overlooked the trades in this country, and quite frankly, those people are making a lot of good money and are putting a lot of people to work through their own businesses.
Absolutely. College is not right for everybody. And there are people that would love to learn skills and those skills are highly demanded in the economy. And you're right, people that are plumbers, electricians, carpenters, really all of the trades, they're well-paying jobs, and they fit people that have a personality such for that, and we should encourage more of that. College, everybody doesn't have to go to college, but I believe everybody should continue learning. So even if you don't go to college, but rather you learn a skill, and then as you're using the skill, you get better at it, you're making a contribution to the economy, and you'll get paid for that. We need those skilled trade people as much as we need college graduates.
Absolutely. This gentleman is always welcome on my program. Public policy analyst and economics expert and professor of finance at Stockton University in New Jersey, Dr. Michael Busler. God bless you, my friend. Please come back soon.
Thank you, Zeb. It's always my pleasure to be here. Look forward to coming back again.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. He tells it like it is, and it's easily understood, and I certainly appreciate him being a part of our program, our stable of great guests. And Dr. Michael Busler, I just really thank him for all that he does. We better get the weather on here. Yeah, Zebber, there you go. You're talking too much, and you've got to get this on. And the weather, of course, brought to you this hour by Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, my goodness. Hello, Don Scarrow. And their telephone number, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, and check out all the delicious meats for you and your family. Oh my goodness, whether it's the pork ribs or the tri-tips or all the different bacons or the sausages and the bratwurst, my favorite, everything great and delicious from Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this Columbus Day Monday, and it's going to be nice. We are expecting sunny skies. Winds out of the west at about 10 miles an hour, expecting a high of 65. Gusts as high as 21 miles an hour for today. Tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of around 34. Tomorrow, again, a beautiful day, sunny skies, high close to 70. Partly cloudy for tomorrow night, a little bit of a breeze, expecting a low of 39. By Wednesday, going to be beautiful. Sunny skies, high of 73 with an overnight low of 41. Thursday, the winds are going to be picking up. We do have a slight chance of showers in the afternoon. Partly sunny skies and cooling down to 57 by Friday. Mostly sunny, mid-50s. And for the weekend, we are looking at the chance of rain or snow showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the upper 40s to low 50s. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7.
No, she does a great job with that weather. Thank you very much, Gina. And the weather brought to you this hour by Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. That's the address. And the telephone number, 324-7657. They are wonderful, wonderful people, Don Scarrow and the crew, and they're changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrow's Meats. Oh, we got a quick call coming in. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, Zeb, I've been doing some research on these closures of coal-fired power plants all over the West, not just Valmy and Bridger, but in Montana, Colorado, Arizona, and elsewhere. And there's a whole bunch. And I guess they said to me this morning that this stuff's a done deal. That's see, it's like the Idaho Power just did this behind our back, and it's too late now, and you can scream and yell, but we don't want to get on the air and get pinned down or confronted with what our decisions were. These people did not make a decision for the good of the people of Idaho. When you think about the power of a dairy or a farmer and all of his pumps running those pivots or pulling water out of the ground even more and elsewhere, and what a betrayal. This is such crock.
Well, it bothers me to the point where any business might have an idea. Any business might say they're transitioning in a different direction. But for them, and I'm going to name specifically Idaho Power, and I think you'll agree with me, for Idaho Power not to come on the air and discuss their going green, the whys, the cost, all the different questions that could be asked, I find that to be absolutely unprofessional and cowardly.
Well, this company, I forget, there's a corporation out of Oregon, and the pressure on the Oregon companies is so immense. I mean, if you remember, in order to stop this green, legislation that was happening in Oregon, 12 senators just literally left the state so they couldn't create a quorum and vote on it. And that was that's what they had to do. They were down to their last straw to stop this legislation from going in, and it's affecting Idaho.
Absolutely. Randy, call me tomorrow morning, first hour. I want to talk about this further. I've got to wrap up the show, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Don't forget our major sponsor of Zeb at the Ranch is, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with right now a big, big fall tire sale. They've been doing the right thing since 1952, and this big fall tire sale can save you money and put the best of safest tires on your vehicle, whether it's a car, pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, camp trailer. You stop in and see them today. Big fall tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Also the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. It's gonna get chilly. Make sure that battery's in good shape. If not, they've got the best at any of the 7 locations with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to get out of here. Running late. Have a good day. God bless. We always wrap up the show by saying the way things were, the way things ought to be, but the 4 most important words at the end of the show: in God we trust. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.